Welcome to Channel's Business Global with me, Juliana Olayinka, reporting from just outside the Palace of Westminster in central London. Coming up on today's show, tributes and shock following the assassination of conservative activist Charlie Kirk, a man hailed as the future of America's youth movement, whose killing has reignited fierce debate over gun control, and the dramatic sacking of Lord Peter Mandelson as Britain's ambassador to Washington after bombshell emails exposing his friendship with Jeffrey Epstein triggered a fresh political storm for Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer just days before Donald Trump's state visit. Then later, highlights from GITEX Nigeria 2025, including my exclusive interview with Google, exploring how Africa's raw talent and innovation are reshaping the digital economy and attracting global investment. But first, Charlie Kirk, one of America's most prominent conservative activists and a close ally of President Donald Trump, has been shot dead at the age of 31. He was gunned down while hosting a Turning Point USA event at Utah Valley University in what police are calling a targeted attack. President Trump paid tribute on Truth Social, calling Kirk legendary and praising his role in mobilizing America's youth. At just 18, Kirk co-founded Turning Point to spread conservative ideals on college campuses. It now has chapters in more than 850 institutions and was credited with helping flip Arizona for Trump in the last election. Kirk's daily podcast and talk radio show attracted millions, mixing fierce debates on issues like transgender rights, climate change and faith, while his trademark defense of free markets and limited government. Though deeply polarizing, tributes have noted his commitment to speech over violence, but his death has reignited America's bitter debate over gun control, an issue Kirk himself had called the price worth paying to preserve the Second Amendment. Here in the UK, Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer is facing a deepening political crisis after the dramatic sacking of Lord Peter Mandelson, Britain's ambassador to Washington. The move came after bombshell emails revealed the true extent of his friendship with Jeffrey Epstein, the convicted sex offender. In one exchange, Mandelson urged Epstein to fight for early release before his 2008 conviction, describing him as his best pal. The disclosures proved politically fatal. On Thursday, Sir Keir dismissed Mandelson with immediate effect, saying the email showed a materially different relationship than was previously understood at the time of his appointment. It's the third time Mandelson has been forced from high office, having twice resigned under Tony Blair's government. The timing is especially damaging, just days before Donald Trump's state visit to the UK, where Mandelson was expected to play a central role. Critics, including Tory leader Kemi Badenoch, say the episode shows Starmer divas under pressure, while Labour insiders admit the scandal has cast a long shadow over his leadership. For the Prime Minister, what was meant to be a reset moment has instead turned into a major diplomatic embarrassment, leaving Britain without an ambassador in Washington just as it prepares to host the US president. Now we turn to Lagos, where last week I sat down with Clayton Naidu, Commercial Director for Google Cloud Africa, on the sidelines of GITEX Nigeria 2025. The inaugural edition of GITEX in West Africa drew thousands of innovators, investors and global tech giants under the theme Forging the Rise of Digital Nigeria. With ambitions to build a $1 trillion digital economy by 2030, the conversation spanned everything from artificial intelligence and cybersecurity to fintech, agri-tech and cloud computing. Google played a leading role, showcasing how its cloud platforms and AI solutions can help African businesses scale. At our interview in Lagos, Clayton Naidu told me that Africa's digital transformation will only succeed if it's anchored in resilience, with local data centers, strong governance, and inclusive upskilling of talent. Day one, what's different to other regions across the world?
What stands out for me about Nigeria is the people, the talent, and the potential. And I always say, and these are the discussions I've been having with various government leaders, is that with Google, as well as the potential, what it does, it provides an equalizer for Nigerians. What we need to do is ensure that the opportunity is available. And I spoke about how do we harness the talent. So if you look at the talented youth of Nigeria, and if you look at creativity, AI allows creativity to become world stage. And if you have the youth that can harness the power of AI, the power of Google, and spark that creativity, you will find that solutions being developed in Nigeria will stand on world stage and will be supporting, huge business impact around the world. And this is what puts Nigeria on global stage for me.
That's absolutely right. NVIDIA had results a couple of weeks ago, was it last week? Bombastic. But the share price dropped. Why? Because they're like, oh, what's going on? Oh, is it too much? Is it? I kind of feel, are we that way with fintech in Nigeria, where it's kind of like, yeah, guys, it has done great. You've got the unicorns, Flutterwave, etc. We love them. But is it time now to move on? And if it is, where do you think Nigeria should be developing?
I think if you look at the potential of Nigeria, we tend to ignore some industrial sectors that are in the heart of Nigerian economy. So if you take agriculture and precision agriculture, and if you look at what developers or tech entrepreneurs can do with agriculture and agri-tech, using some of Google's solutions and AI models, you will find that Nigeria will be able to develop solutions that can be exported, right? So, there's the traditional cool stuff that fintechs and I think the fintech ecosystem in Nigeria has done incredible.
Yes.
But if you look at the other ecosystem as it relates to agriculture, as it relates to what Nigeria can do, edutech, more important, what Nigeria can do in mining and manufacturing, because all the creativity is here, right? And if you look at harnessing that creativity and packaging it the right way, but more importantly, bringing an opportunity. And I always say that we as industry, and this is what we've been discussing with government, is we have a moral obligation to ensure that we bring the opportunity at the doorstep of Nigeria. And this is what we're doing today. And we started now because we're showing up. And the fact that we showed up as Google is the first step to bringing an opportunity to Nigeria.
Absolutely. Opportunity being the key word. That's all they want,
Absolutely.
Not all of them want, design a handbag and great wigs. They just want to be able to feed their families and, have meaningful employment. Last question I want to ask is, what does a successful week look like for Google? You're already successful. I know you've got OpenAI to compete with and stuff, but no, what does a successful week look like? You come back and you're like, wow, that was amazing.
I think a successful week for us will be really centered by the following principles, right? I would say is that we provided a platform and opportunity for businesses to come and learn about what we do. I think that's the first level of success. I think we also provided a level of opportunity for businesses that learned to package what they've learned with Google to develop solutions that they can make money on. Right? Because that's going to empower the economy and it's going to fuel job creation and overall economic growth. I think the last one, and I believe we at the table, is that government has provided a seat at the table for us in industry and technology to co-develop the solutions with them. And this is what's intriguing for me, is that I think it's a very robust discussion that's been happening, and we're pretty excited about a partnership with the government of Nigeria, and we're hoping that we'll be able to do something great together because we fundamentally believe it's going to have an overall impact on the economy.
Coming up on Channel's Business Global, I'll be sitting down with the Nigeria Diaspora Direct Investment Summit convener, Chief Bimbo Roberts Falayan, who will be giving us his overview of President Bola Tinubu's diaspora engagements, and we'll be looking back at some of the biggest business news stories of the week. All of this after the break. Do stay with us. Welcome back to Channel's Business Global with me, Juliana Olayinka, reporting from just outside the Palace of Westminster in central London. In a moment, I'll be catching up with Chief Bimbo Roberts Falayan. But first, here's a breakdown of some of the biggest business news stories of the week. Germany's lower house of parliament has stripped far-right Alternative for Germany lawmaker Maximilian Krah of his parliamentary immunity as part of a corruption and money laundering probe. The decision allows investigators to search his offices and seize evidence. Krah denies the allegations, calling them politically motivated, though his controversies, including remarks defending elements of the Nazi SS, have long dogged the AfD. Despite the scandal, the party remains resilient in opinion polls, with one survey even placing it narrowly ahead of Chancellor Friedrich Merz's Conservative bloc. Ghana has joined a growing list of African nations agreeing to accept deportees from the United States. President John Mahama confirmed that a first batch of 14 people, including Nigerians and a Gambian national, had already arrived under the deal, which is limited to West African nationals. The move comes as the Trump administration steps up its crackdown on undocumented migrants and strengthens pressure on African partners. Rwanda, Eswatini, South Sudan and Uganda have signed similar agreements. Latvia will temporarily close its airspace along the eastern border for at least a week. The decision follows Poland's interception of drones that cross from Belarus and comes ahead of joint Belarus-Russia military exercises. Defence Minister Andris Spoots said there was no immediate threat, but described the closure as a necessary precaution through to September the 18th. Now to London. I was earlier joined by Chief Bimbo Roberts-Falayan, who is the convener of Nigerian Diaspora Direct Investment Summit, to give his insight of President Bola Tinubu's recent engagements with the diaspora. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is on annual leave, although we saw pictures of him earlier this week having a working lunch with French President Emmanuel Macron. I'm sure he was offering him some support, considering his government has collapsed. But then just a couple of weeks before then, he had pretty successful trips to Tokyo and to Rio. And once again, we saw the president engaging with members of the diaspora. How important are these engagements?
Very important. The government in Nigeria needs to engage more with the diaspora because of the power that the diaspora holds. When you look at the economic situation in Nigeria and what the diaspora has been trying to do for several years, setting up different initiatives, different NGOs, different missions back to Nigeria, this is where the investors are. And the diasporans are the bridge to the investors. So it's really important that the government engages more with the diaspora in order to use that important bridge to reach out to I know the federal government, they do a lot of work in the areas of foreign direct investment, but what we tried to change the mindset several years ago when we started the Diaspora Summit, in trying to get the government of Nigeria to look at the diaspora as extra resource. We are the extra resource. We are like, take it this way, you have children in certain parts of the world. You don't really need to do much. You just need to engage with your children, get them to connect with what you really want for Nigeria. So I think the trips outside of the country are very important, particularly when Mr. President engages with the diaspora.
Yes, you spoke about FDIs. Let's talk about diaspora remittances. I think we recorded over $20.9 billion last year, which is 4 times the value of FDI. I know that you convene regularly the Nigeria Diaspora Direct Investment Summit. Talk about how important those platforms are, which oftentimes are shunned. I know you always bring in the big names, including government ministers and state governors, but sometimes people do poke their nose down on them, but they're bringing in the big bucks, aren't they?
Yep, they are. But most importantly, since we started, we have managed to mobilize, encourage a lot of diasporans to set up businesses back in Nigeria. And this is really important. These are people that ordinarily would have stayed in the countries where they operate, but they're taking some of these, they're taking projects, taking new technologies, taking new ideas, new business models back into Nigeria. And so it's been very successful. The government still doesn't understand the importance of this. We're not
That's
there,
the truth.
we're not
That's
there
the
yet.
truth.
They still don't understand. So they're not engaging as much as they should.
Why?
Why?
You've been doing it for years. Well, tell us why. What stumbling blocks are you facing?
It's simply very difficult to explain. Say, for example, during our last summit in March, we managed to bring in some philanthropic funders into the room. And these guys came with funding for small businesses ranging from $1 million USD to 10 million USD.
You always have a deals room, don't you?
We always have the deals room. We put them in the deals room, and then they also have the second tranche was for 50 million USD up to 500 million USD, which is grants. It's not repayable. And it took us so much to convince Nigerian states particularly, to bring projects forward. This is free money. We managed to get Bauchi State, we managed to get Katsina State, and hopefully, before the end of this year, we're hoping to mobilize minimum of 200 million USD into Nigeria, which is free money. So when that comes out, you'll be the first person to know, because I'll be calling you immediately.
Absolutely, we do love an exclusive. Yeah. Can I ask about why you think there is a delay in appointing ambassadors and high commissioners? And this is, not trying to put down the efforts of the Nigeria High Commission. You work closely with them, including the acting ambassador. I do too. They're a pillar of society, which is why, considering so much has gone on in the world, part one of the show I was talking about the assassination of Charlie Kirk, the dismissal of the US, the UK ambassador to the US. There's a lot happening, but we don't have a number one citizen around the world. What's happening there?
It's very confusing.
Yeah.
It's very confusing. Even the High Commission, they don't understand why.
Yes.
But it also shows that the government don't really understand the importance
of that foreign engagement.
So there's a huge gap, and there's a disconnect between the missions and even the community and investors at the same time. People talk to the acting high commissioner, but they don't have that kind of confidence that they normally have if they're talking to the substantive high commissioner. So this is something that government needs to do. Government needs to do this very quickly before the end of this year. Otherwise, all the efforts that people like us are doing would not amount to much. Absolutely. Unless we have proper ambassadors in place. Yes,
we know that the community is the engine of the diaspora. The president had several trips this year, several trips over the past couple of years. What's the most promising to you? Where do you think you see a lot of promise?
Where do I see a lot of promise? I see a lot of promise in the sense that this government started very well with their economic re-engineering of, the re-engineering of the Nigerian economy. Even though very painful.
The reforms. Painful reforms. But yielding some results.
I think we're expecting some reforms. They are more or less long-term results. They're more of long-term orientated. They're not immediate term. I think the government will do well if they bring in immediate succor through the local governments rather than the states. And I think that's...
And the diaspora.
And the diaspora.
Our support.
Exactly.
We're talking up the coffers.
They need to engage more with the diaspora. Yeah. They really, really have to engage more with the diaspora. They need pointsmen and pointswomen within the diaspora working directly with government, helping the government.
You gave yourself a plug there, didn't you? More plugs, because I know you've got lots happening towards the end of the year. Talk to us very briefly about that, as well as some of the plans you've got with NDIS. Very briefly, as we end the show.
One of the things we plan to do, we have a project we call it Eminent Nigerian Series. It's one of the platforms we set up to mobilize investment back into Nigeria. But it's also a project that we in the diaspora have put together as contribution to the moral issues in Nigeria. And so we celebrate eminent Nigerians, eminent Africans, and that's what we do with them. We've done the two initially. This one that we're doing, which is the third volume, is called the Eminent Nigerian Series in celebration of President Olusegun Obasanjo. And that is to commission some professors, led by Professor Sidi, to write his biography and to focus on the conflict resolution strategies of Obasanjo. Unknown to a lot of Nigerians, whether you like his policies or you like his politics or not, he's somebody who resolves a lot of problems across the continent of Africa. He's highly respected by the United Nations. He's asked to go to so many places, different countries, to look at how to resolve problems. So we're doing that. We're launching that publication on November 27th in Transcorp in Nigeria. And secondly, we are also inaugurating an Olusegun Obasanjo Conflict Resolution Center in Abuja. And this will be like a center where issues will be resolved across the West African land. Also, we've purchased the land already, but we're doing that inauguration on the 27th of November. And it's there's going to be a lot of people coming from abroad. We have invited presidents from some of the West African countries, And we expect our president to be the special guest of honor at the event. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Chief
My pleasure.
Robert Folayan, who is, could describe you as an elder statesman in the Nigerian community here in the UK, as well as, of course, a convener of the Nigeria Diaspora Direct Investment Summit, which is the leading diaspora investment summit across the world that's been holding for several years. Thank you so much for your insights and time.
Thank you.
Well, sadly, that's all we have time for today. But as always, do get in touch with your comments and suggestions. I'll see you at the same time next week for more in-depth business analysis on Channel's Business Global. Goodbye.